Bitcoin ETFs were teased and maybe going to happen soon for so long, and then it finally happened. And so quickly after, we have now seen the launch of Ethereum ETFs. The millions and actually billions of dollars of inflow into Bitcoin ETFs is truly unprecedented. So why wouldn't Ethereum achieve incredible success on the ETF front as well? Investors are clearly hungry for Bitcoin. Why wouldn't they be hungry for Ethereum that, when timed correctly, outperforms Bitcoin in gains, returns in the last 2 cycles? Let's look at the initial performance of the Ethereum ETFs, the best Ethereum ETFs to buy, the ones to stay away from, and what is Ethereum's price going to do because of this? I'm Vosk, you're on the VoskCoin YouTube channel. You look around, everybody's talking about ETH ETFs, at least in the crypto game, and of course some in the stock world as well. Ethereum ETFs have been approved by the SEC. We have a potentially friendly government coming into the United States towards crypto. Bitcoin ETFs have done pretty well since their launch earlier this year. We take BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, for example, it's up 35%, which is pretty similar performance to Bitcoin this year. Enter their Ethereum ETF. If you bought it pre-market this morning, you'd be down a little bit. I've already started building my Ethereum ETF positions. I have Bitcoin ETF positions as well. And you may say, well, why? Like, I own Bitcoin, I mine Bitcoin, I own Ethereum. But it's just a way to get some additional asset exposure on some different platforms. For me, it's diversification, right? So I'm showing you this on Robinhood. I think their platform it's good for content creation. It's very clear, easy to access. I'm also actively using Schwab, among other ones. We have our link to support the channel with Robinhood down in the video description below. But as always, do whatever you want. The point here being, though, is when the Bitcoin ETFs opened, they dumped. This one, for example, went down 20% after opening. And I don't think it's unusual to see this open and then go down for a week or so. But I think that this will track upwards. So let's kind of speed run some of these Ethereum ETFs, and then we'll talk a little bit more about everything. iShare's Ethereum Trust, it's going to be a big one just because BlackRock basically owns the world. It's a very deep rabbit hole, but we'll just leave that at that for now, right? There's also Fidelity's Ethereum fund, which Fidelity self-custodies their Bitcoin, which is a very cool thing. So that's opened, that's down a similar percentage. VanEck Ethereum ETF, down 3%. Franklin Ethereum ETF, Bitwise Ethereum ETF, 21 Shares Core Ethereum ETF, and then Invesco Galaxy Ethereum ETF. The volumes that we're seeing in some of these are pretty crazy. We look at ETHA, right? iShare's Ethereum Trust, on nearly $6 million of volume. We look at Fidelity's FETH, $3 million of volume. $500,000 for VanEck, $500,000 for Franklin, $3 million for Bitwise, 21 shares at 300,000. And Invesco's Galaxy Ethereum, about $250,000. So we pop around from all these sites that have the initial coverage. Most of them have the ones that we've talked about here. What we're going to see is pretty big uniformity across the board here. They're all competing with each other to get these assets under management. So we see the fees here, 0.19 up to 0.25%. Many of these fees are waived through the year or for the first X amount of millions or even billions of dollars in fund assets. iShares cut their fee to about half for the first 2.5 billion. We got some more data here. One thing that really sticks out is going to be Grayscale's Ethereum Trust. We've talked about Grayscale before, but basically this is what they've converted to be an ETF. It was not previously an ETF, and it was their workaround to get Ethereum exposure in basically the stock market, right? Especially interesting for people's retirement funds and things like that. First to market on a major platform, but Grayscale takes huge management fees, and they siphon a lot of the gains and rewards out of their clients, to be blunt. And look at their gross fee. That is 10 times the next highest fee, right? 10 times. Let's compare some Ethereum products here. Most of these are pretty much ETH exposure, right, to the market, and they weren't ETFs because Ethereum ETFs weren't technically approved. We look at their returns over the last year. They're all sitting at around 88% if they've been up that long. They're all pretty much up 50% in the last 6 months. So these have all been doing very well. And to put that into perspective, those have outperformed Ethereum. We look at Ethereum over the last several months, it's been pretty sideways. Eric's got some good data here. I shared this on my Twitter as well. And we look at the snapshot 90 minutes into the Ethereum ETF launch. I mean, these are huge numbers. That's in the millions over there. And their estimate was coming out that this would basically do 20% of the volume of Bitcoin's ETF. And one thing that's kind of throwing this off is going to be Grayscale's volume. Most of Grayscale volume, we're going to assume, is actually sales. It's selling. Because many of those people have been stuck in that fund before the conversion for years, literally years. So if you're up huge and you're stuck there, trapped for years, why wouldn't you get out? Also, they have a gross management fee. So why wouldn't, if anything, you get out of that and then go over to any of these other funds and reduce the management fee astronomically, right? Then we look at a snapshot of the data halfway through the trading day, and we see $600 million nearly of trading volume just on these Ethereum ETFs. We will see more Ethereum ETFs possibly come to market. We now have the door open for other cryptocurrencies to come to market with ETFs, right? If Ethereum can have an ETF, well, what about these other coins? There's many cryptocurrencies that interest people, and now probably just for fun, Elon's going to try to drop a Dogecoin ETF, or someone else will step in there and do that, right? And he'll just back them or whatever. If you don't know, Elon Musk is a big proponent of Dogecoin among Bitcoin and other things. When I look at the Ethereum ETFs, two stand out to me, right? BlackRock for their simple dominance, right? And there's many things attached to that, but we're not here to go down that rabbit hole again today. BlackRock for their simple dominance, and that's why they're leading in volume. Fidelity, platform, self-custody of coins, incredibly impressive, huge volume. Fidelity makes the second most sense, right? The rest of the ETFs are definitely on the smaller side. Or we see VanEck at under $1 million. We see Franklin at under $1 million. We see Bitwise coming in third with 3 million. So absolutely substantial volume, but we'll say it's the third out of the other bigger ETFs there, right? And then we have another one at less than 500,000 in volume. So you look at all these options like horses in a race. At the end of the day, they're not going to drastically outperform each other. The differences will be minimal. The difference in fees here are pretty minimal, especially long-term once the promo waived fees come out of the equation. So buy whatever one you want, do your own research. But one thing to keep in mind is more volume, right? It means a bigger fund. It's going to be easier to get in and out of that with less slippage. And if they're all essentially the same thing, I want to reduce my slippage on that front. This is weird, right? This is another monumental day in cryptocurrency's history, for better and worse. It's becoming more mainstream. It's becoming more centralized. And it's becoming easier to get crypto exposure. Will you 1000x on this? Impossible, I think, right? This is something that's maybe like in the 10x realm. And that's kind of where this stuff is heading. Like we're looking at stock type returns, not crypto returns, where next week you could literally 100x and make, insane return on your investment. Or my investment could go to zero because the coin will nuke, rug, die. So yeah, it's a very interesting time. I think that good times are ahead. I think good times are in the near future, very good times, like bull run, crazy market times, hopefully. You look at the cycle, you zoom out, it's supposed to be 2025. Looking at global events, looking at the market, looking at the trends, that seems to make sense, that seems to line up. I'm here to be cash poor and investment heavy, but you do your own research. This is an investment advice. And well, hope I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for watching. Let's close this out with style with 10 seconds of tails. Our CSO, our Chief Skibbity Officer. You good girl, puppy. So it's time to get that puppy treat. Except we went to the vet recently and she said that Tails is gaining a little bit of weight. Snacking too much. Hey, you want to buy a mining rig? Do you want a pretty good price on it and pretty fast shipping? Then you may be looking for ASIC Marketplace. Click our link in the video description below to not only support our channel, but support yourself with the coupon code we've got right next to it.